2 weeks ago, I was planning my next trip back to Ukraine, not even thinking of this individual, and now I'm on television talking about an assassination attempt on the former president.
An Army veteran from Sandusky says he had interactions with the man who is now accused of plotting to kill former President Donald Trump just 2 days ago. And tonight, News 5 investigators have the exclusive television interview with the man who says he knows the suspect, Ryan Routh. Jonathan Walsh sat down with the veteran, and Jonathan, he told you that they met in Ukraine?
Yeah, that's right. Kind of odd, but true. And he says he spent about 2 weeks around Routh. And here's the deal. He says Routh appeared to be mentally unstable right away, spewing odd claims and not really understanding what was needed to help the Ukrainians.
I like to say that it started off as helping out with the Ukrainian war, but when I got there and met the people, it became my war.
47-year-old Terry Burton from Sandusky says after serving in the U.S. Army and hearing about Putin invading Ukraine, he knew he needed to be there, even though he has no real ties to the country.
There's very few times in your life that you get the chance to be on the side of absolute right.
He tells us he went to Kyiv in late March of 2022, just after the Russian invasion. Terry documented his time in war as he wrote for the Sandusky Register. It was in Kyiv that he says he met Ryan Routh.
It was apparent, really at first sight, that he wasn't exactly what they were looking for. He really wasn't what any volunteer group was looking for.
Terry says Routh told him he had no military experience and never fired a weapon, but wanted to join up. He tells us Routh said he knew of 3,000 Afghani Taliban and Syrian ISIS soldiers who were NATO trained that could join the Ukrainian fight, which Terry found odd. He also questioned Routh's clothing.
When I first met him, he was wearing an American flag as a cape. He was wearing an American flag t-shirt as well as American flag baggy pants.
And he says Routh would wear a pro-Trump flag at times.
Every conversation was about Donald Trump. Every conversation was about how he was upset that Biden had won. He mentioned January 6th. He wished he had been a part of that. That was a new American revolution.
He says Routh was shouting USA in the streets and that people should be thanking him personally because the U.S. saved Europe in World War II. Terry says there was a Russian bounty on American volunteers in Ukraine.
And with him bringing this attention to Americans being in this area, that was tactically not sound.
So when Terry saw the recent reports about Routh now being accused of trying to shoot former President Trump,
it was a little bit surreal. It was like, wow, this mentally ill individual that I dealt with in Ukraine just tried to assassinate the former president.
Terry wants people to know that Routh does not represent the people who are there arm in arm with Ukraine.
This is somebody who was a pariah to those of us who were helping in any capacity. This isn't the norm.
Now, just before our sit-down interview with Terry, he told us he had just come from an interview with the FBI at the Erie County Sheriff's Department to tell agents there what he knew about Routh. Meanwhile, Terry says he himself is now part of humanitarian missions to Ukraine. He's bringing them much-needed supplies during this war.
So interesting to hear his perspective of this suspect, and I know you'll bring us new developments if there are any.
Absolutely, you got it.
Okay, Jonathan Walsh, thank you so much. And of course, World News Tonight with David Muir will have the very latest on the investigation into this apparent assassination attempt against former President Donald Trump. That's coming up right after News 5 at 6 at 6:30.